What is good people? Hope you are doing good.
Welcome to our channel.
Yes. Yes.
Don't tell me that you keep watching our videos and you haven't subscribed.
What?
You are a fraud.
What?
You are a fraud.
No. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, comment, and we'd love to hear from you. By the way, thank you so much for everyone who comments and everyone who actually sends Vitumelo private DMs.
Oh, private DMs. Okay, yes. Thank you for the private DMs. They've been encouraging, and as I said to a lot of people that I have replied to, that it's not an easy journey, but I feel compelled to share this because I got so much healing when I accepted what's happening. Not that I'm owning it, but I understand that this is a journey that God has taken me through, and I realized the stigma around it, and I just wanted to share. And also, not just me, it's not only about me, it's about us as a couple. And because the thing about mental illness, it doesn't just affect you, it affects the people around you, your children, your husband, and all of that. So we wanted to share that. And today we're talking about the spiritual side. So I'm going to talk everything spiritual.
That's awesome. As is in the background, by the way, you'll hear him here and there. He's playing around, walking around, and if you do see me move away, it's because he is, going to make the computer fall now, or he's going to do something crazy. So I'll just...
Yeah, he's walking by furniture now, so there's so many hazards. So we must always keep an eye because he actually has a scratch here because he fell yesterday. So yeah,
like
that's the boy.
He's about to make the computer fall. So that's why I'm like, okay, but let's go on.
Okay, the biggest question.
Yeah.
I think people have is,
yes,
can you have Christ and be depressed
at the same time?
At the same time,
all at the same time.
Why can't you just believe in God?
Yeah.
Can you have Christ and be anxious? The Bible says don't be anxious about anything, but in
Why
everything.
does it say so?
Yeah, but in everything, through prayer and supplication, give your things to God.
Yes. That is so true. Are you asking me, or
I'm asking you because
are we having a discussion?
I'm asking you because you are a pastor who's also studying further in his theology. So
yes. My passion and my desire is to link Christianity with mental health and studying things of trauma and depression and anxiety and all of those things. So yes, it is real. The Bible would have not said do not be anxious if people do not get anxious.
Wow.
So there's people who are depressed even in the Bible. There was an amazing guy who is called Elijah, who did amazing stuff, but there was a point where he got depressed and he wanted to die.
He wanted to die.
So there are incidences
There's
where
so
people
many.
Get depressed and
I think the most comforting one is when Jesus, before the crucifixion, he went to pray, and he wasn't, he was so heavy burdened by this. Hey! Don't come to a camera. Come here.
Come on, boy. He's like, what?
So he was so worn out to the point, it says to the point of death. He was like, God, I cannot do this. I do not want to do this. And I find that wild because he's God himself, and he felt
so crushed in spirit.
He felt that thing of being crushed in spirit, and
And how has it been for you when you were depressed and you were Christian and you got to a point where you wanted to say, God, if this cup doesn't pass from me, I'm done with this Christian faith. I'm done with life with you. I'm done. So what happened there?
My Christian journey, actually I've been saved for 10 years. My Christian journey has I think I'm a performer, and I think for most of my Christian life I performed with God, and I was genuinely seeking Him. Let me tell you how I got saved. Actually, um, there was so much trauma in my upbringing, and I was in this class in grade 10,
Yeah.
and I was so exhausted, and I think I was a class captain, and I had to give the teacher a register to sign after class, and then she said to me that I can feel like your spirit is so heavy, and then I started crying, and then I don't remember what we were talking about, and then she led me to give my life to the Lord, and that's really how it happened.
Wow.
But I think I was searching for something. One thing that we don't understand or realize is that for me, my way of dealing with trauma was me seeking something higher than me because I felt so powerless. Whereas some people, when they're dealing with trauma, they want drugs or alcohol. You want something outside of yourself. And I think, people would compare me with my brothers, like, oh, you are the strong one because you chose faith and they chose this. And now that I'm older and wiser, I understand that all three of us, we were looking for something to take us out of the trauma. It doesn't make me a better person than them. We were all dealing with trauma, and we chose different things to get over the trauma. And I think that was my approach coming to it. It was a trauma response. It wasn't.
Sure.
Yeah.
It wasn't romantic.
It wasn't romantic. It was a trauma response. I was like, I need to seek something higher than me, something that is in control of
Yes.
this.
What resulted to the trauma?
No, I wouldn't want to go
Okay.
to explaining the trauma, but yes, there was just family trauma, and we were all not coping, and I think I saw with them, smoking and drinking brought even more drama in the house. So I wanted a coping mechanism that's not going to bring drama. And I just wanted a higher purpose or a higher presence, because it wasn't going to cause drama in the house. Yeah.
Okay. So walk us through 2018 when you were down and out and you didn't want to have any sort of relationship with God.
I think sorry for the noise as it's playing. I think for maybe 8 years of salvation, I've been striving. It's like I'm working for the Lord. I'm doing stuff, and I am giving to the people. I think my relationship with God was very transactional. Like, if I do this, God will bless me. If I, it was very transactional, that give and take, and all of that. Blessed are those that do this, and then, it was like that. And then in that year, end of 2017 to the whole of 2018, there was nothing I could do for God to bless me. Everything that I was doing to get God's blessings, I wasn't getting God's blessings. If anything, I was getting everything opposite. And I questioned God's authenticity. I questioned God's realness. I questioned so many things, because I was like, I have always been a good girl. I've always done good things, and I've searched you, and I've lived my whole life trying to please you. Why am I here? My spirit is worn out. I don't want to do this. I want to die. Are you even real? Yeah.
Sure. I'm going to ask you a difficult question. Can church contribute to depression? And then my second question is, how can church help people who are depressed? But can church contribute to depression, or your Christian walk contribute to depression?
So in my personal experience, the thing is, I'm still discovering my journey with depression. Like, I can't really tell if I started young. Like, in some instances, I feel like I started young, but then I also feel like I started in 2018. So I'm not really sure. Obviously, we all have depressive moments, especially in our 20s. 20s are very depressing, like almost everyone is depressed. And me being declared clinically depressed, like I had to go through a journey of like unfolding the past and all of that. And I had a point. What was the question?
The question was, has church contributed
Oh.
to you?
So, in my experience, then I can say that I have been depressed before, but it wasn't so severe. It was manageable. It was functional. But church for me, like, listen, I'm talking about me. I'm not saying church is that's what church does to people. For me, church was the biggest contributor to my traumas, to my greatest depression, to my existential crisis. And I think my physiology actually has changed ever since church trauma. I think I've changed a lot. Church trauma has changed me a lot. It has changed my personality. It has changed my self-belief. It has changed a lot. So
Sure.
I think, I don't know, people would say, but church people are also people. I understand, but it was so deep, so intense. It was spiritual abuse. And when you're spiritually abused, you don't understand why God is allowing such things to happen. So yeah, and that's how I think church for me contributed to depression.
And how difficult was it to still go to church on a Sunday?
I remember I would have moments where I throw up because my body just couldn't take it anymore. I think the thing about depression that people don't understand is that it's not only in your brain, it's not only your brain not functioning properly to make you happy, whatever, or it's not just sadness, it also like physical, like you get headaches, you get stomach cramps, you get nauseous. Yeah, so I would get like very nauseous and headaches and total loneliness. And I think loneliness was the greatest thing, the biggest thing actually. Well, generally as a person, I struggle a lot with loneliness, but now loneliness in the church was like a huge thing, And guys, when I'm talking about loneliness, I'm not talking about I'm alone or I want people connection. I'm talking about psychological loneliness where you want to die. You feel so alone in the world that you just, even when you have people around you, but you feel so alone. Yeah.
Sure. I think what B is also trying to say is that there was a certain picture painted of her or of us. And so, with that certain picture being painted of the person that she is, and her not being good enough with the whole, I don't want to say the whole congregation, but majority, not even, I don't know if it's majority, but a handful of people seeing her as this type of person. It caused her to feel like there was no space of safety, and there's no person who can, or who she can open up to, who she can be friends with, because everybody presumes that she's this person because this is a picture that has been painted about her. So
yeah, I think generally,
or about us, but
about us. I think generally now I see that because I've moved to so many places, and I realize that I'm not an easy book to read. I realize that, and because I'm not an easy book to read, people make up assumptions, and as human beings, we are so fixated in our imagination that we want people to also participate in this space. So whatever we imagine about people, we want to present it out there, and we want everyone to believe it, whether it's true or not. That's why a lot of people can say a lot of things about me or can interpret me in different ways. But literally, I think only 5 people know me for real. So um, now it bothers me still, like being misunderstood is painful. It still bothers me, but and now I understand that I'm not an easy book to read. I thought I was because I'm quite open, but turns out that I'm not.
Sure.
Yeah.
Look, you started off by expressing how trauma triggered depression, which is really, really so good. And I'm eager to ask the question as to how does the church help people who are depressed. But before I do get there, how was it for someone who, I think I've been asking this, and I've been asking this the whole time, but how was it for you in that state of deep depression from the church? How did it affect your relationship with God so deeply? Like, yeah, I don't know if I'm making sense, and I think you're just touching the surface, and I want you to go.
You want me to go deeper? I don't know what depth you want, but like I stopped believing. I really stopped believing because Christianity wasn't something tangible for me. It wasn't something. It wasn't real. Like in my mind, it wasn't real. It was this thing that we use to cope with life. It was a drug, and that drug wasn't working for me anymore. I wanted something more real, and that's when I stopped. I stopped believing. I remember going to Anne and I told her that I'm done. I'm done believing. I'm done praying. And one of the most powerful things that she said was that it's okay if you want to stop believing, but I'm going to believe for you, and it's okay if you don't want to pray. I'm going to pray for you. I will carry your faith, and that I wish at church we were like that. I wish we were not like too quick to say that's that demonic. And yes, I must confess that the devil has a role that he plays when he knows that this is a tender spot for us. I mean, for me, he knows that I'm very emotional. I'm very highly sensitive, and that's where he always like tries to fiddle around. And I think if we are not careful, sometimes we can see spiritual warfare as just a normal depression. So I think with growth, we must see that this is a spiritual warfare, even though the enemy is using depression. I think that was happening in that space, that it was a spiritual warfare, but he's using my condition to make me reason out that it's not a spiritual warfare. Yeah. And yeah, I would ask God questions, but honestly, in the depth of my heart, I just didn't believe that God existed.
You felt so empty.
I felt so empty. I felt so alone. Guys, I had this. I cannot explain the loneliness. I only like every time I get into that space of loneliness, it's so dark. It's so I don't know how to explain it. And when I'm out, I'm like, oh my word, that's so scary. So yeah, I think loneliness is a continuous struggle, and I think the enemy knows that loneliness and hopelessness those are my biggest struggles, and he works around that. Like he's always like fiddling around that, and I didn't believe that God loved me. I genuinely didn't believe that God loved me because God's people around me didn't love him. Like it didn't make sense to me that how can somebody bring so much revelation about God? How can God reveal himself to somebody that is torturing my spirit? Like it didn't make sense to me, and that's why I think I stopped believing, because I'm like, wow, God, you present yourself like that to that person, but you cannot even simply comfort me in my struggles. Like you've given them so much wisdom while they're still torturing me, but you cannot even comfort me. Yeah. Yeah. And I think we think that the people that are abusing us, God has no grace or shouldn't have grace on them. We want this favoritism that God must deal with my enemies. We forget that they're also his children.
I think you're so true in that, and a lot of people have experienced church hurt, And I want to say sorry for
Yeah.
if you have experienced church hurt. People like myself who are in leadership have hurt people through whatever we've said.
Yes.
And most of the time it comes from a misunderstanding and a misinterpretation of the scriptures and the gospel. And humanity is not perfect. Church is full of broken people. And so I include myself in
Me too.
hurting people. I've
Me
hurt
too.
so many
Yeah.
young people in youth ministry as well.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, if church has really contributed to your hurt and pain, I want to say I'm sorry. And yeah, I hope that we
Yeah.
can improve and
Yeah,
become better.
we can do better.
And so, how can church? I mean, you touched on it a little bit with Anne, who is such an amazing person. But
Yeah.
how can church then begin the process of healing? I have my own ideas, but what
Yeah.
are your
Okay,
ideas?
so it's easy to, okay, not easy, but it's much more understandable to think of mental illness as like type 2 diabetes or cancer or any of the diseases that we know, even though it's can't say disease, disorder. So I think if we learn and educate ourselves, we will break the stigma. And I was also a Christian that had this big stigma on mental illness. I couldn't understand, like, what do you mean you're depressed? We all get bad days. We all get cloudy days, And I think once we learn that this is psychological, and not only psychological, it goes to your physical side, and it also goes to your social, affects your social life, it affects your spirituality.
Sure.
Once we understand that, then we realize we will see that it's not something that we can just brush off. There's so many people in the church that I've seen that are struggling with this, and I think for so many years Christianity has been about using God as a scapegoat and as an escape to our reality. And I think it's time we bring him and we draw him into our reality, our presence, and not just using to just forget about what we're going on and just like suppress everything. Like scripture is not used to, it wasn't meant for us to cover our stuff. It was meant for us to reveal and unfold and dissect what's going on.
Very well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dissect, yeah, unreveal, yeah, refold, yeah, manifest. No, that's so good. I just wanted to also say that another way of not dealing with someone who is depressed is by telling them to get over it. Like, just get over it. And I told B that, and she sunk deeper. And you, aha! I thought our marriage was over. It, right? So yeah, it was really bad. But in any case, we dealt with it very differently. My process was get over it, but me getting over it was me just shoving all the pain and all the emotions aside, whereas she was dealing and processing with the emotions. And then later on, I think this year or last year, that all of that caught up with me. Last year and a bit of this year as well, that all of that caught up with me, and it was it was so difficult. I couldn't do church, I couldn't do working for church. I was like, I'm done. Like Nami, I'm just like I'm done, So getting over it is not good advice. Just saying it.
Let's get through it.
Oh my goodness, girl. Huh? I think, what was I going to say? Yes, I was going to also say this, and I'm saying it so cautiously because I'm not bad mouthing any church who is not at this process, who has not arrived at my process of thinking. And it's not about really me, but I'm just thinking that another way that as church we can help people who are dealing with depression is that one of the most important people in the church that we should employ are therapists. We should employ therapists, we should employ counselors, and we should employ people who are specialized in that department, so that pastors can be pastors and shepherd, and then therapists and counselors can do therapy and counseling, because most of the times people come to the church, church leaders like myself, and they have a mental issue and they want to deal with it from a shepherding issue, and we're
Yeah.
not giving them the right medication. I don't
Yeah.
know. I feel
Yeah,
like
the
I'm,
right tools.
I feel like
Yeah.
I'm insulting some pastors. I'm not doing that,
No,
but I'm just
yeah.
saying that we need more therapists in the
Yeah.
church. We
Yeah.
really, really do, so that we can, help people. Like it's so important, and hopefully that is my dream to study further, to understand trauma, to understand the importance of therapy, so that one day I can be that person in the church who provides
You
therapy.
go, you.
So yes, man, we hope that it helped. We hope that it's been beneficial.
Before you close, I just want to leave you with two scriptures.
Oh, yes.
One is Luke.
Yes.
Luke.
Luke.
Luke 22, verse 42.
Mm-hmm.
It says, Father, if it is your will, take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. And the second scripture is in Hebrews 4, verse 16. The reason why I'm referring to the scripture is because for the longest time,
Yes.
I wanted to get over this. I wanted to just wake up and I'm just free. And God hasn't been doing that. And I have stopped medication and gotten worse. And I've gambled and I've just gotten worse. And we need to get to a place of surrender that Jesus was in, where you are so true to yourself that I don't want this anymore, but let your will be done. And I think I've gotten to that place of let your will be done. I'll still take my medication, but I will then make this a purposeful thing where I teach other people or I bring them closer to God. And I just want to also encourage you from Hebrews. It says that Jesus, there's nothing that we go through that Jesus has not experienced. And it also says that when we go through these troubles or whatever, like I'm just paraphrasing, when we go through these troubles, we can have confidence in going through the throne of grace and receive mercy in time of need. And I think that just surpasses everything that we've just said, that you don't have to hyper spiritualize anything or like demon kicking or whatever. You just have to go to the throne of grace and tell God, be honest, and just because he understands, he knows everything. He knows depression. He was at the point of his soul was so crushed in the garden that he wanted to die. So he knows this. And if we go there to him and teach and tell him and be honest about our prayer instead of praying how we were taught that we start with praise and then just go as you are. Just go as you are, and God will free you and he will heal you.
My goodness.
Yeah, he will heal you from the strongholds. I think depression is no longer a stronghold for me. I know it's there. Yeah.
That's so good, B. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to touch on that a bit, and just to say that if it started in the garden, God can end it in the garden. And majority of the time that God uses the platform that hurt you to heal you. Majority of the time, not all the time, majority of the time. So if it is your father who hurt you, he sometimes becomes that father to you who heals you. But that's majority of the time, it's not always. So yeah, man, God's in the process of healing, and he will continue to heal you. So we out, we've spoken so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have a fantastic one, and next week is going to be fire. It's going to be amazing. You don't want to miss it.